start by creating a plan. So you need to work out your niche. So say, like for me, say you're a gym brand. You need to work out, so we're going to do one post a week on the gym wear. We're going to do one post a week on workouts. We're going to do one post a week on post-workout foods, or what I have had in a day, because that's your inside scoop. That's your personality, because you're showing what you've eaten in a day. You don't have to do that. It's not really anything to do with business. But people are getting the inside scoop and the personality. And then within that, you're showing your gym wear. You're showing your gym supplements, whatever it is, and people are going, so where did you get those leggings from? Where did you get those supplements from? And it's about organically adding your products into it.
I like to call my unlimited content matrix, and essentially you break your business down into 4 pillars, right? You're welcome. Before I even start, you break your business down into 4 pillars. You say, okay, let's say for example it's Crunches by Susie. She has really likes, fashion, right? She really likes hair. And there's another 2. So you break down hair and fashion and you get their keywords. So you say, okay, fashion, we have models, we have material, we have this, that, and the other. And then for each of those keywords, you'd break that down into the who, what, when, where, how, and why.
What's sustainable happens quickly. Nothing. Like, very few of you can show me an example of something that is sustainable, that is built quickly. I look at a plant. You look at a tree. Look, the biggest tree in the forest here, how long has it been there for? Thousands of years. It's not coincidence. You look at buildings. How long did they build a building? How long does it stay standing for?
Yeah.
Look at a baby. If a baby is born too soon, it's at risk of dying. Everything in life, there's not one thing in life here that can happen quickly and is sustainable. So when I tell you the post here for the next 6 months here, that's me using the laws of life and nature and what we see around us to understand here that nothing in life that is built quickly is sustainable.
I love the psychology of it. And I think sometimes with digital marketing, we forget that it's the same thing. It's just using different platforms. And the speed in which the digital platforms allow us to market to our audience compared to traditional offline is just incomparable. It's just crazy fast. And also the accessibility of how many people we can reach. And so it can be quite overwhelming when we think about the bigger picture of digital marketing. But really, when it comes down to it, it's about the psychology that we've always known. And that goes right back to, hey, I've got some of these carrots. I've noticed that you haven't got any carrots. What about these? Should we swap some carrots for some of your potatoes? So it's about the psychology of somebody wanting or needing something and then somebody else being able to provide.
We call it edutainment. So it's education and entertainment. And don't be scared by the entertainment word, because entertainment is broad. Anyone can find anything interesting. It doesn't need to be humorous or anything like that. Teach us about this, and you can do that with a hook. So one tip for video content is you need to capture someone's attention in the first 3 to 5 seconds. You need a hook, and that hook it needs to draw in that person. So on TikTok, you can write a cover title on your video. If your service is beneficial in some way, a hook on that cover title could be, this is what really saves me time when I'm ... That's a hook, because now I want to know what saves you time. So this is where services can really play up to, how is this beneficial for you? Why should you be parting money? How can this change my routine in the best way possible? So that is everything that they need to be pushing.
I'm waiting for the thumbs up from Jeremiah to let me know I've got the thumbs up. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to another edition of UKBF Talks. And today, I am privileged enough to be joined by Mr. Dave Rogers. His real name is David, but he wants us to call him Dave, so I'm going to call him Dave, So I'm joined today by Mr. Dave Rogers. I'm going to tell Dave, look into your camera and tell the people, hi.
Hi everybody, been a pleasure to come down to Northampton today to speak to you, Jacob.
Is that it? You're not going to say I'm looking good. You're not excited.
Well, I don't think we need to say that you look good because you always look good.
Oh, here we go. That's what we like to hear. So today's conversation, we're going to be focusing on conquering your Everest, on prioritization, focus, to-do lists, all these things that we need to be doing to really, really key in on achieving certain things in our business, right? And there is no better person to be speaking to in this particular area than Dave. So if this is something that you feel will benefit you or somebody else, go ahead, like, subscribe, get your comments in, get your questions in the chat if you've got anything around this topic that you want to know more about, and let's get this show on the road. So that everybody knows that you're not an alien, right? I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and just give a bit of background about who you are, where you're coming from, and why we need to listen to you. Why do we need to care about what you have to say?
Well, as I said, I'm Dave Rogers, Chris and David, but I do prefer to be called Dave.
All right.
So I've worked in corporate PLCs for nearly 30 years. So I've got a lot of experience working in different industries, and I've learned a lot about various different things, including prioritisation. So I've been privileged enough to work across multiple industries, whether it be hospitality, car manufacturing, construction. But all the things that you learn in those bigger businesses, I firmly believe, are equally applicable in the types of businesses, the people that are watching us have this chat today. Yeah. And I think learning about how you can prioritise better and make your business more efficient, as we were discussing before we came on air, about all of the technology that's out there and all of the different things that can just make people more productive, more efficient, more focused on what the key things are that they need to deliver to make their business better. Yeah.
No, that's a great segment to my first question, which is what is this thing called prioritization? And why is prioritization important for any small business owner or any business owner?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, prioritization is always about putting the right resource in the right place at the right time. So whether that be people, which is the most important resource in any business, or whether it be capital that you've got, behind your business in terms of investment or things like that. Because ultimately, if you can create that strategy and that vision for your business, that means that people are bought into it. They understand what you're trying to achieve. You understand what you're trying to achieve as a small business owner. So therefore, you know what you need to focus on to increase your productivity, improve your efficiency, get your team more engaged, because ultimately what that delivers is a better customer experience. And for me, the customer experience is everything in any business, because that's the thing that then drives successful growth and profitable growth as well. No,
that's really, really well coined. What is the importance of effective business prioritization, and how does it contribute to the overall success of a business?
So I think, again, this is about going back to that sort of the idea of being really clear on what your purpose is as a business and a business owner or a senior leadership team in slightly larger businesses, to create that vision and the values that you want to operate with as an individual, because then those effectively are driving where your strategy and your strategic vision is going to take you, which in turn makes you think about the current state of your business. And it's important when I talk to people about the current state of the business, is you've got to be honest about this. If this thing's not working, be honest about it, because otherwise you're not going to prioritise those areas to improve. Because then I think what happens is you then start thinking about, where do I want to get to? Where are we now? And the prioritisation and the bit that drives you to the success is, how do we fill those gaps? And almost start with the end in mind and work backwards from there to go, right, what are our key priorities to deliver in these different areas of our business?
There's something that I like to do in the webinars called, do you remember what's it called? The persona game. Cheers, Jeremiah.
It's a good job you're here, Jeremiah, today.
Do you know what? I've been drinking water, so I should have drank some coffee instead. But coffee is a placebo, apparently. But anyway, called the persona game. And I like to build different profiles and express it to you and ask you what that particular person should do.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to kick this off.
Yep.
Let's say I'm starting off in business and I am someone that sells flowers, for example. What should I be prioritizing?
Right. So for me, there's a number of things. There's the market that you're going to operate in. So how are you going to sell those flowers? Is it going to be a physical store? Is it going to be a home delivery service? Is it going to be a combination of both? So think about where you are building your business. And when we talk about building your business as well, and this is for any business, is think about the foundations that you're building that sit behind it and the priorities that sit with there. Because, you know, I'm now a business owner myself, and we all get caught up in the excitement of having our own business, and we've got this really great product. We're selling fantastic flowers and all of these sort of things. And we forget about the fact that we need to think about, so how do we manage stock? What does our supply chain look like? Where's our accounting system? What I always describe as the unsexy side of business, the things that you really need to think about, getting the foundations in place that enable you then, as you grow and start up and start developing a reputation and great customer experiences and start growing your business, that then allows you to continue that growth and push and prioritize different things and really create a business plan that lasts more than just the first 12 months in terms of being able to gain investment from your bank or other lenders.
So you just kind of put together a buzz phrase there, which was a business plan. So is my business plan, so as a flower shop owner, is my business plan key to kind of ironing out or establishing what my focus should be?
Yeah, most definitely. So for me, all business plans, regardless of whether you're a potential florist or whether you're a consultant, whether you're selling widgets, doesn't really matter. For me, it's about that holistic view of your business and understanding, actually, well, I've got a vision for where I see this business being in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, and actually using that framework of looking at the business in a holistic view, of looking at your customers, your people, your operations, your performance, and having that sort of list of different priorities that you'll have over the course of that time to really make sure you nail where you want to be in at the end of that time frame. That's really good to know. Really good to know.
If you do have any questions, make sure to get them in the chat so that we can pull as much out of Dave whilst he's here today. My next question is, how can businesses identify and prioritize their most critical goals and objectives?
Well, I think that for me is around applying different types of viewers and engaging as many people that are your key stakeholders as possible. So whether that be stakeholders within your business, or whether it's stakeholders outside of your business, for example, like your suppliers or your customers, plus the people that are working for you. Because I think if you'd have this sort of way of engaging with the whole group and asking their opinions, they might have a different view to you. As we were talking about earlier, about having different views about different things, whether it be new technologies or whether it be different parts of business. So that for me is a big key one, is getting as many opinions as you possibly can. And then I think really drawing out what your purpose is as a business and your vision and your values, and almost linking those two things together and saying, well, actually, this is actually the reality. Now I'm back to my point about where does the business currently sit, because this is the reality currently. And what do you need to prioritise to get you up to where you want to be?
It sounds like having a clear purpose in your business is quite essential in like what you're prioritizing. So what if somebody doesn't have a purpose when it comes to their business? What could that person do?
I think for me, it's going back to I suppose the whole Simon Sinek start with why principle, and just keep asking yourself, so why am I doing what I'm doing? What is it that you want to achieve? Is it that you want to, create a community business? Is it that you actually want to want to have a £1 million house in 5 years' time? It doesn't really matter whether it's a material goal that you've got, or a more softer, in the sense of it being not giving back in that regard of a community business. But I think either way, just start to think about why you're doing what you're doing. So for example, one of the reasons I started my business was all about giving back. It was giving back to my local community, helping businesses be better and help share the things I've learned with them. And I know that everything I do is around helping people and helping businesses. And I think that's why it's key for me that your purpose in your business and that whole vision of what you want to achieve and the values that you operate with as an individual are really key to understanding what you need to prioritise to get you to where you want to be.
There's something else that I want to add to that as well. Richard Osborne, the founder of UK Business Forums, there's an Aussie, we used to do these things called Aussie's Nuggets, not those sort of nuggets, come on guys, where he said in this, why are you doing it, right? Why are you even doing it? Because there will come moments as a business owner where you might even struggle to get out of bed because you're like, do you know what, I can't be bothered today, right? But if you stay in bed, if you've not got a business that's bringing the cash in whilst you're sleeping, you need to get up out of bed. So are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it to build a legacy? Are you doing it to help people? Are you doing it to make an additional source of income? I believe having that why is extremely important, because when you hit a brick wall, as people at times do, having a strong why will potentially help you to navigate through those scenarios.
Yeah, agree entirely. For me, it's about sort of, and almost to your point about sort of not getting out of bed, is actually, if you've got a really strong purpose about what you're doing, you love what you're doing because you're doing what you love, and therefore you almost leap out of bed every day because you go, I'm loving what I'm doing here. Because today I might be doing social media. It might not necessarily be something that you are that individual's necessarily strong at, but it's going towards that purpose of being in the business. And I think it also helps then when you look at what you're strong at and what the business is looking for, it helps you prioritise and then delegate things to other people. And I think that's one of the big things for me is that and I can speak from experience now, being a business owner myself, is that sometimes you just go, well, I've got to do everything myself. But actually there's stuff that I don't necessarily enjoy doing, or stuff that might take me a little bit longer than somebody else. So therefore, actually, let's find somebody who really enjoys that part of a business, and let's delegate stuff to them so I can prioritise on the stuff I really love doing, and he's really going to add value to the business
overall. No, that's really good. That's really good. This is why I love hearing comprehensive answers, because those answers can now you get more from those. My next question: what are some of the common challenges that organizations face when it comes to prioritizing tasks and initiatives?
I'm going to sound like a bit like a broken record here, but for me it's about there's lacking clarity around what you're actually trying to achieve in the first place, and I think that leads then to having excessive priorities. So trying to do too many things and therefore not spreading yourself a little bit too thinly. I think, again, lack of resource, so not thinking enough in advance about what you're trying to prioritise, and actually have you got the right number of people that you need to grow that certain part of your business? Have you got the right skill of people within your business? Have you got the right cash sitting behind you to go out and, for example, if you're looking at, I don't know, let's say you're in manufacturing and you're going, right, actually we need to increase production, but that means you've got to spend £100,000 on a new piece of kit. Have you got the resource to go and do that? Because if you haven't, that's going to cause you a challenge when you start prioritising increasing sales when you can't actually fulfil orders and those sort of things. And I think those then lead to unrealistic deadlines for people as well. So again, I went, one of my earlier comments was about, people are the most important resource in any business.
Yes.
And actually, if they're bought into what you're trying to do and understand where they fit in the scenario and in the prioritisation and where they're adding value, then actually they will then go, well, actually, I can't manage that deadline. This is where we need to be. And I think probably the final point is about communication. Particularly with smaller teams and smaller businesses, it's about making sure everybody knows everything within reason, because otherwise they won't understand why you've taken that decision over here that's impacting these guys over here, and and stuff like that.
I think the bit you said about communication and clarity are extremely important, especially if you're in an organization where you're working with somebody, because if this person isn't even pulling their weight, it's very, very clear to see where the boat's sinking, right? If somebody's not, if there's two people in a canoe, let's use this analogy. If there's two people in a canoe or a kayak, and somebody's literally like rowing their life away in a good way, like they're literally putting all the effort in, but the other person's not doing what they're meant to be doing, because they don't necessarily understand where the direction that you're both going, right? They're like, I'm not going to waste my energy. I'm not going to waste my time, because that person's not told me where we're going, right? So if that person who's putting everything into steering the canoe where it's meant to go just communicates that, oh, we're going north, that person knows where we're going. So that person's also going to apply themselves in the correct way because they've got clarity and direction. Just adding to what you're basically saying. So clarity and communication is extremely important.
It is most definitely. And I think it's that, because then you'll understand as well, just expanding on what you've said about whether you've actually, in this analogy, whether you've got the right person in the canoe with you as well. And again, another great book that I've read in the past, and it's probably over 20 years old now, is a book called Good to Great, which is all about how businesses have taken themselves from good to great. And one of the things is about having the right people on the bus, is the analogy that they use. But it's exactly the same principle, because particularly for smaller businesses where there's clearly less people, you've all got to be pulling in the right direction. You've all got to be going, actually, we're all taking this canoe or bus, and we're going there, and we're going that way. And yet you'll deviate some, the path sometimes, but in the main, which direction.
Exactly. You know which direction you're going to. Are there any frameworks or methodologies that can help businesses in the process of prioritization? If so, can you explain a few of those?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd say about the frameworks is just, again, go back to something I said earlier about it, making sure that whatever you're doing is including all of the business, and those four key parts of, your customer, your people, your operations, and then your sort of your output, your performance outputs. But there's all sorts of frameworks out there, and sometimes we just use them and don't even realise it's a framework. So something like story mapping's quite an interesting one. So that's where you'll look at something almost visually in the way that in the good old days of animated films or even traditional films, they would storyboard what it was going to look like, and almost that works really well in business as well, because it allows you to think about parts of the business and actually at different points in a process stop and go, okay, right, so what are the potential options here, and what do we need to think about? And actually, if the end goal is in that, I've seen that used very well in sort of a customer journey type approach. So if you know that you want your customers to get a certain experience at the end of it, and you know that your business is currently here, what are the bits that you need to fill in? That one's a great one. There's also something called the Moscow technique, which I've seen predominantly used in project management. So it'll be where let's say you're implementing a new system, and you've gone and engaged with a business as a supplier for that system. They've given you the traditional off-the-shelf version of it, and you go, right, okay, so what are the things that we want to, that we must have, should have, could have, and won't have? And that helps you really think about what are your priorities then about how that system then is implemented within your business, and helps develop a communication your point of view. And then I think the final one is a pretty basic one, and I actually use it almost every day, which we took you in your opening, you talked about a to-do list. I don't have a to-do list, I have a must-do list. And that is about saying, right, in everything that you've got to do, Darwin, whether it be in life or business, and going, let's score it out of 5 on 3 different things. Do we enjoy doing it? How long is it going to take? And how much value is it adding to me? And the interesting thing with it is value is not just then a monetary thing. It could be a emotional thing. So it could be about spending more time with the kids and the family, and if you score those things out of 5, the things at the top of that list that will potentially have a score of 13, 14 or 15 will be stuff you love doing, stuff that takes very little time in the grand scheme of things, and adds massive value to you as an individual or your business. So you'll be more productive. You'll be doing those because you love doing them. The things at the bottom, that are no value, take ages, you don't like them, why are they even on the list? And then it creates a bit in the middle where you can go, do you know what, actually this framework will work great, because it'll allow you to have some things that, like I talked about earlier, that you might not enjoy doing, but add great value to your business and don't take a huge amount of time. You need to find need to find somebody who can do that for you and delegate those tasks. I think those 3 different ways of looking at prioritization, work across any business, any size business, whether it's a sole director, whether it's a or a smaller enterprise.
We were having this conversation off air, and I'm gonna wheel it into this conversation now. And it's kind of based around what we're talking about, the frameworks. And if what are some things, some software, some technologies which business owners can apply right now to help them to make their lives easier?
So I think there's because obviously I know where this conversation is going to end up, so I'll make sure I get to where we want to get to with this bit. So I think there's a number of things that we've got already in place. So there's a lot of software sort of project management tools like ClickUp or Monday or things like that a lot of businesses might be using already, which are great for giving tasks to individuals, giving them deadlines, making sure you're on point. There's obviously things like Microsoft Office 365 with Teams and Yammer, from using it as a portal, as it were, to hold shared documents to make it easier and for people to find out what they need to find out, using Yammer in a way to communicate with individuals. And then there's obviously things like Slack and all of those sort of things that are bobbing around. But I think the biggest thing for me, and as we were discussing before we came on air, is AI, and actually the being able to use that in a way that just makes you more productive, because it might be that you might be struggling for inspiration for an idea for a social media post, or you might need some new SEO copy for your website, or you might just need to be going, do you know what, actually I could do with an idea of what a framework might be for some sort of documentation that I need, or I might need to write a letter to a group of customers about a certain product or a certain change. And actually using AI, personally speaking, being someone who's been what I would describe as a late adopter from the latest sort of round of the ChatGPT and all of those sort of things, is I'm using it every day now. And it's helping me be more productive. And be able to go, actually, right now I can prioritise different things in different ways because I'm more productive with my time.
And is AI is AI something that you think that all business owners should be using nowadays?
I don't see why not. I think there's a lot of and again, as we were talking about off air, there's a lot of, in my opinion, rightly, some concerns around AI at the moment, and how do we regulate it to make sure it's being used in the right way, and how do certain industries use it in the right way? But from my point of view, I think from a small business owner's point of view, I think you should be using it, every day. And if you're not, somebody in your business should be, or you should be using somebody who's comfortable and confident and competent in using it, just to help, because I think it's such a time-saving tool component of business now that you're still able to use it, but still add your own twist and personality to it. And I think that's sometimes where people do get caught up with it in a little bit, is that it's people look at it and go, oh, it's not going to be in my voice. Well, actually, as you know, and as I know, as people who've used ChatGPT, it's one of those things where the more you put into it, the better the quality of the response is out of it. So actually you can specify around tone of voice and things like that. And also, again, we were talking about it off air, tools like Grammarly. Grammarly's been around for years.
Yes, it has.
Lots of people use Grammarly, but don't think about that as being AI, but it's now different. Or I think the example you used was the
emails,
emails, and the completion of words and sentences, and even autocorrect. On phones and things like that. All of those things have got an element of AI behind them, and we've actually been in a world where AI has been prevalent for a lot longer than we all imagined, to be honest.
No, I feel like it's something that we speak about a lot in the office, or recently we've been speaking about it a lot, about the efficiency aspect of AI. And one thing a business owner obviously ultimately wants to do, I know it may be a dirty word to some people, but it shouldn't be a dirty word. It's profit, right? Your business needs to make money, and you need to focus on the things that are making the money efficiently. And if you spending less time doing things that, let's say, ChatGPT, or even I know that Canva even has this thing called Magic Tools or Magic Write, which can produce copy for you if you ask of it what you're looking for.
Exactly.
If you've got these tools that are saving you time, saving you thinking capacity, so that you can focus on other things, why not use it, right? Why not utilize it? And also give it the more you put into it, as you said, the better the quality of content, the better quality of response that it ultimately feeds back to you as well. But it is something that now feeding back to AI and prioritization. How does AI and prioritization, how does that work hand in hand, or how could they work hand in hand?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to what you said about sort of using it in a way to prompt it correctly to help you resolve certain business challenges.
Yes.
So as an example, so let's say a business owner's looking for a different way of marketing a certain product, and actually you can use AI to come up with some ideas that you wouldn't necessarily come up with. One of the other things that we spoke about off air was so we've all got our own, for want of a better phrase, biases around our experiences in the world of work, and from certain businesses and from certain things that we've done in life. Around sort of the way we would approach selling a certain product, or building a certain website, or creating a certain process within a business. But actually, if you open your sort of eyes to different creative ways of thinking, one of the best ways to do that, I think, is to use AI.
Yes.
And prompt AI to go, right, okay, so how many different ways are there you could sell this toothbrush to these type of people? It's that sort of general principle. And I think it'd be quite interesting. I've certainly seen where I've gone, it's created a more balanced view of decision making as well for me, or content writing, or just all of those things that you just want to make sure everybody's got a balanced view of what's going on in the world of business.
Well, it's an open source that's fed in from all different aspects and all different perspectives. So it's likely to give you as balanced as perspective as you can get.
That's right.
So, that's definitely a good point there. My next question is, what role does data and analytics play in prioritizing business activities and decision making?
For me, it's pivotal. Data. It allows you to think about what's happening in your business from a customer's point of view, from a market point of view, from your own people's point of view. You think about whether it be TripAdvisor reviews, whether it be internal employee engagement surveys, whether it be general market information that you get from your industry press. It could be things like trend analysis, highlighting opportunities for where you might grow your business, so prioritising different routes to market for you.
Yeah.
And I think also as well it assesses risk, because I think the one thing that probably the pandemic has brought to the fore a little bit more is around crisis management, business continuation, risk management, and things like that. And so all of those data points, I think, just again allow you to make better decisions about what you need to do in your business to make it better. I think the one thing I would say, and this is certainly my bias of working in corporate businesses, is be careful not to drown in data. And go back to that point about what's our purpose as a business, what's our vision, what are our values, what are our strategic priorities, and only make sure that you're looking at the data that's relevant to those, because as you know and I know, it's so easy to get data from everywhere and anywhere, and all of a sudden all you're doing is looking at data all day and not actually doing anything else in your business, and actually it makes you worse from a prioritisation point of view than you were before.
And what are some of are you aware of some of the tools that let's say a small business owner can use to attain that data?
I think there's a number of places. So obviously when it's customer facing, you can use things like Google Analytics, you can use TripAdvisor if you're in that sort of arena. If you're from an employee sort of point of view, there's lots of employee engagement software, or there's lots of, and actually what I found quite interesting is there's a lot of companies who have been built on customer insight that are now using the same principles of questionnaire type responses, but applying that to the employee world as well, because it's effectively looking at the same thing. It's about customer loyalty and employee loyalty. And I think just in general, your systems, so whether it be your accounting system, whether it be in your manufacturing system, from a market point of view, there's plenty of data that you could actually go out and buy. So, whether it be geolocation data, whether it be, all of those sort of things, because there's plenty of data out there. For me, it's the bit that brings it all together. So if you've got something where you've got a dashboard built using Power BI, for example, or some sort of dashboard reporting where you put in the data into it, because actually the data you get in is only as good as the sort of reporting you're bringing out to help you make those decisions as well. I think that's worth considering.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's really good. How can businesses effectively communicate and align priorities across different areas and different teams and different departments?
See, that's something that was one of my biggest frustrations, I think, working in large organisations, because there is a danger that you end up operating in a sort of silos, as it were, and avoiding that. But I think one of the biggest things is that I saw to solve that problem is to actually engage with all of the stakeholders, and I mentioned that earlier, is make sure that all of the different parts of the business are represented, that you're asking them for their opinion on the business. Obviously you'll have set a vision of where you want to go in a business, and it might only be 2 or 3 people, it might be 7 or 8 people, it depending on the size of your business. And I think then that leads to getting their opinions on things, being transparent and honest about the situation that you're in and where you want to get to as well. I think that helps engage everybody in achieving that goal.
Yeah.
And celebrate success, because I think it's very easy in business to go, oh yeah, we've done that, fantastic, next.
Yeah.
But actually, if you don't celebrate that, then you and your team don't feel like you have actually achieved something. Because for me, it's all about that sort of one team, mentality. And again, and earlier we were talking about, so I follow, F1, and whilst yes, it's the driver who is ultimately, standing on the podium,
the trophy,
99.9% of the time during the interview, it's and thanks to everybody back at the factory, and this, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the team, behind us. And actually, that's the bit really, is that, as business owners, we see the success, but actually it's the people that are around us, that are behind it, that are the drivers for delivering it.
Yeah. No, it's something that Richard also says here at UKBF, that literally any milestone, any small or large success, it should be acknowledged, it should be celebrated, because it brings together the culmination of the team having achieved that okay, this is where the work that we've done has gone to.
That's it.
Great. Now let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's you just really made a good point there about celebrating the small victories as well as the big ones, because it brings morale. The person who's you might bring an apprentice on board into your business, because you may not have the ability to be paying, let's say, 5 members of staff. So some people may be volunteers, some people may be an apprentice. Just imagine the confidence that it shows from an apprentice if the work that they've done is being acknowledged, or something that they've done is being taken notice of. It will boost them up to even work harder.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you just mentioned volunteers, and it's actually, I think that today is the last day of Volunteers Week. Okay. Which is sort of basically a week where they, in the UK, we just celebrate the millions of people who volunteer their time, predominantly to help charities and other organisations. But actually, for business, there's a lot of I would say untapped potential in what you could describe as a volunteer market, or the intern market, or the apprenticeship market, where if you're looking for somebody to do something for you, then actually why not engage with a local college, for example, and or a university, and say, actually, if you need a research project doing, and you don't mind a student having the research to write their thesis around that, then actually there's quite a good relationship there for you. You can engage with somebody who's coming towards the end of their university career, who actually might be interested in coming and joining your business at a later date. Exactly. So so from that point of view, it's quite an interesting dynamic about how you can prioritise other things within your business that you don't need to be doing as well. Yeah.
I feel like you've already answered this, but I will ask it just in case you want to expand on it. Are there any tools or technologies that can assist in managing and tracking the priorities within an organisation?
I think, like I mentioned before, I think it's about you. It's about finding the right thing that fits your business. So I've seen, as I said, things like so I've used ClickUp before. It allows you to do mind mapping for certain processes and things, which then turn into business priorities, which you can then assign to individuals. I'm a big believer in trying to make everything as transparent as possible for everybody involved. So whether that be Microsoft Teams, as I said earlier, using SharePoint as a central document space, all of those sort of things, using different communication tools to keep people appraised of what's going on, all of those sort of things. And I think a good old-fashioned balanced scorecard, which is just simply sharing, it could be something up on a wall that's got 4 or 5 metrics on, that's just going, updating every day or every couple of months or whatever it might be, to go, this is how we're doing today. Is it red, green or amber? Brilliant. Are we moving in the right direction or not? And reprioritising from there.
And when it comes to I think this is going back to the the utilization of even artificial intelligence and AI, things like as ChatGPT, different things like that. When a business owner is struggling and they don't have the capacity to think about what they want to focus on this week, what are there tools out there that can give like a detailed blueprint of maybe things that they can look at today, or focus on this week, or focus on this month?
Yeah, I think for me it goes back to that sort of technique that I explained that I use. Really, it's about going what are the must do's, the must do's that you've got, and going right. I'll actually, I've got this list of 15 things to do. But actually,
I really like that.
Actually, tomorrow I must do this, and concentrate on those things. And again, I'm going to share another book now, just to so there's a book called Eat Your Frog by Brian Tracy. I don't know whether you've heard of it or read it.
I haven't heard of it.
Now,
so
the general principle of it is, if the one thing you had to do was eat a frog, was you do it straight away, you get it out. It's a little bit like I'm a Celebrity, isn't it? One of those bush trials. But that's the thing, is find the things that you need to do straight away, and do them. And that becomes because then what that means is that you can then, if by, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, you've done your 3 must-dos for the day. One, you can celebrate your success, and then 2, you can go, right, okay, so what else can I tick off my list? Is there something I could bring forward from tomorrow? And just break everything down into smaller goals, because I think, like you said, when you get in a space where you're struggling as a business owner, it can become very overwhelming, because you go, oh, I've got this to do, my VAT's due, I've got to order that stock, my website's not working.
Needs updating.
Oh, I've got to recruit 2 people into that team. The roof's just collapsed. All of those things that can happen and do happen. All of a sudden you get to a point and go, right, let's just take a step back and go, right, what must I do today? What must I do tomorrow? And just doing that, I think was a game changer for me in terms of the way I approach prioritising things. The
must do's is something like moving from a to-do list to a must-do. I think that could be a game changer for a lot of business owners once they know that having that aspect of prioritization from a must-do. I can't do anything else until I do these things. So you're gonna add something to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because all a to-do list for me is you just you cross one thing off, then all of a sudden you keep adding 2 things onto the bottom, and it just gets longer and longer and longer, and therefore that's where the overwhelm comes, because you go, oh, actually I've got this list of 15 things. You go, well, actually you have, but that hasn't got to be done till because you've thought of it now. You write it down on your list, whereas actually if you're planning in advance a little bit better, it becomes easier. That's really good to know. I really like that analogy. I think we're on our how can businesses reassess and adjust their priorities in response to changing market conditions or unexpected challenges? Well, I think that's really relevant given the last 3 years that we've that we've been through. And again, I think for me, it's around. I'm having a lot more conversations with small businesses and small business owners around horizon scanning. So that's like looking out into the future and going, right, what could possibly be the worst thing that could possibly happen to this business? Because actually, with the exception of a few people, nobody really saw what happened in 2020 coming, really. So, and therefore a lot of businesses were caught in a very, very difficult situation, and unfortunately, a lot of businesses have been lost because of it. A lot of businesses are still recovering from it. So for me, that's that thing about, and from there, because then what you can do is you can then prioritise, well, what is my crisis management process for that? And how do we actually keep, you say the word crisis management and you go, it's just for big PLCs who've got to worry about, if, servers go down or this happens or that happens. But actually crisis management is equally applicable for any business, and it could be a crisis. It hasn't got to be a huge, business challenge. It could be something as simple as, your work van breaks down.
Yes.
And you've got one engineer less on the road. So what is your plan for that?
Yeah.
Don't be reactive, be proactive about it, and go, actually, right, I know that if that happens, then we've got to do this, and away we go. And there's there's a small disruption in service, but it's nowhere near as bad as it's going, all right, I need to phone around 16 different vehicle hire companies because I can't get a vehicle. Yeah. In that case. And then I think the final bit of that is risk management. I don't think, and again, it goes back to my point about it's not a particularly sexy side of business talking about risk management, but it's hugely important, and having that register of the risks that are potential in your business and be able to monitor those on a monthly basis, actually going, right, because then all of a sudden that might impact a short-term challenge that you'll have. Yes, you'll still be aiming for the long-term goal, but your risk sort of registering will help with that. Yeah,
there's I saw a post on LinkedIn a few days ago. There's these brothers that run a company, a meal prep company, and they just moved into a new warehouse. And I think days into moving to the new warehouse, there was a pipe that burst. They've got all their stock in this warehouse, and a pipe burst which flooded the whole place. Right? They're probably thinking, a new warehouse, nothing like that could ever go wrong because it's a new warehouse, but all their stock, all the whole place, the kitchen, absolutely flooded, right? Yeah. So now that they've been through this and they've gone through it, they've probably now got that mindset of what on earth could happen again at this level, which we can maybe prepare for in advance, so that if this happens, we can potentially pivot. Just adding to what you just said.
And I think that's it's a classic case, and we're all guilty of it. And it doesn't matter what size of business it is, there'll be something that happens that we end up reacting to. But the more proactive you can be about trying to consider those things, and actually going back to your point about AI might be one of those things that you can use to help you go, well, what could possibly happen? What could possibly go wrong with X type of business? Yeah. And they'll give you a lot, and you'll go, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Because actually, your point about a new warehouse is, how many people who are going to watch this or have listened to your webinars before have ever moved into a brand newly built house? And how many times have they had to call for snagging? Yeah. It's no different when you're moving into a new warehouse or a new work property. Yeah. So actually, some of the things we learn from our own lives actually are equally applicable in the business situation as well. So it's just about thinking about little things like that.
Yeah, no, that you made a really good point there. Really, really good point. My final question is, can you share like any success stories or examples of companies that have achieved great results, or things that they were chuffed with, or you've seen that they've done well because of prioritization?
Yeah. So I think there's a few examples from my own sort of business life, I suppose, and one of the hospitality businesses that I work with, went through a period of change, but that was all driven by the prioritization of 3 strategic sort of goals for the business, and it was almost that was the sort of sole focus for them, and it enabled them to develop new brands, expand brands, and and really grow and actually regain their, I suppose, their number one spot in the sector, which is always good for any business. Yeah. But I think the flip side to that is that it sort of gives another great example of like not resting on your laurels to a certain extent, and keeping that principle going throughout. And that was all built on the four guiding principles of customers, people, operations, and performance, and 3 strategic priorities. So that's one that always resonates with me when somebody asks me that question. And I think just observing other businesses, I think if you look at sort of the results that Gymshark have attained, Huel, the food, the meal supplement company.
Fuel there.
Fuel, human fuel. That's
Human
why they call
fuel.
that. That's what they're called Huel, aren't they? And there's also a business called Absolute Collagen, which is in the sort of the I suppose beauty, health industry, and all three of those for me have prioritised their customer experience. And have gone, right, what is it we need to do to make sure our customer experience is on top of its game. And what that's then driven is then a community spirit around it. So whether it be, you see the sort of the lifting community behind Gymshark, or whether it be the hooligans that Huel have got, or whether it be the absoluters that Absolute Collagen have got. They've really prioritised a key sort of purpose and vision and value they want to achieve at a top level that's just emanated all the way through the business. And all of a sudden, in the case of, I think, Absolute Collagen, it's one of the top 20 growing businesses in the UK currently. And I think that's the bit that for me, that you look at the businesses like that and you go, yeah, you can clearly see where their priorities are lying and what they're focusing on. And that just shows you the size of delivery. And I think for somebody like, for example, Gymshark, to only now be opening their first, or have opened their first physical shop, that to me, if you listen to Ben Francis talk about that process, is very much in the, well, it wasn't a priority for us because we were focusing on customers and this and this, and actually now we've got an opportunity to do this, and to actually announce that they'd bought the shop or signed the deal, I think, and we're opening the shop in the midst of the global pandemic as well, where everybody was saying retail's on its backside, the high street's dead, to go, well, actually we're going to do this, and then you look at the performance of that, and what that store looks like, and the interest it's generated again. Just classic case of where they've pivoted their prioritisation as well over recent years as well.
I think you just gave some really good examples there. To round this conversation off, what are the 3 top bits of advice that you would give to any business owner about prioritization?
I think number 1 is clarity around what you're trying to do, why you're doing what you're doing, and what you're trying to do. I think number 2 is the must-do list. I think that is genuinely a game changer for anybody. And then I think number 3 is surround yourself with the right people. And I think by that, I don't just mean within your own business. I think one of the things we didn't touch on when we were talking about delegation was actually, for some business owners, delegation is about delegating to people outside of your payroll. So actually, it might be your accountant, it might be your social media person who's not, is a contract, or whoever that might be. And actually, don't be frightened to delegate outside of your business, as it were. I think that would be the 3 things I'd focus on.
No, thank you so much for your time today, Dave. You gave a lot of really, really tangible and practical nuggets, which I know that even for myself and what we do here, that we can definitely apply as well. So, and I know that it would have definitely helped a lot of people. So thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Loved it. Loved the conversation.
We didn't pay him to say that, by the way.
Oh, damn.
Well, there we go. Thank you for your time today. If you have any further questions for Dave, we're going to have some of Dave's information, maybe an email address or his website, that we'll put in the follow-up correspondence to this conversation. And I'm sure he will be welcome to any questions that you may have.
Yeah, more than happy to answer any questions that come in, have either come in during the session or come in afterwards. And maybe we pull something together, a bit of a Q&A follow up, and more than happy to try and answer everybody's questions for them.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So if this is your first time here, this is UKBF, the largest online platform for small and micro business owners in the UK. We have various resources and guides to help and equip you to run and be successful in your business. It's a free platform to join. So go ahead and check us out, ukbf.co.uk. We will see you on our next webinar, which will be focusing on how to be really, really effective in using LinkedIn to bring money into your business. So I will see you soon.